Good evening. Today is June 7th, and today I'll continue to talk about the coronavirus. So the first piece of news I'd like to talk about is how to stay safe when the country is reopening, and I'll have three precautions that I have to avoid contact, confinement, and crowds, in which I'll talk about how you tiptoe toward normalization, but also realize that you have to make realistic choices as well. You need to continue with social distancing precautions, and that means wearing masks, staying 6 foot distance from each other, and washing hands often. Try to avoid hugs and handshakes, and any 15-minute face-to-face conversation between people who are within 6 feet of one another constitutes close contact, so try to avoid that as well. Indoor activities in confined, enclosed spaces, even large ones, such as gyms, are more conducive to spreading the virus than events held outside, especially if the air inside the building is being recirculated or the windows don't open. So overall, try to avoid going indoors at all except for your house. Large groups are risky even outdoors, so try to avoid crowds as well, as they mean more people, more contacts, and more potential sources of infection. So, such as the protests that are going on, if you're going to participate in places when they're protesting, perhaps when it's able to social distance, not like where some of the pictures online when we're seeing where protesters are literally just slammed in with each other. And also, don't forget to make good choices and try to avoid going out if you're at high risk for developing severe disease, such as including those 65 or over, residents of nursing homes and long-term care facilities, or if you have an underlying condition. However, I think young, healthy adults and children should also consider the protection of people around them, including family members or anyone that is vulnerable, as if they could not get sick over this virus, but if they pass it on, for example, to their grandparent, then the grandparent could likely be extremely sick from this and die as a result. So the second thing that I'd like to talk about is that rain fell in New Orleans as Tropical Storm Cristobal has made landfall in Louisiana. Louisiana is one of the worst states hit by the coronavirus pandemic, and this Tropical Storm Cristobal is perhaps going to worsen the coronavirus crisis, where evacuations may be at odds with social distancing, so social distancing won't be possible. And the state's health department announced that the storm had forced the closure of some drive-through and mobile testing sites, which will resume on Saturday, pending recovery efforts. Cristobal has already brought 3 to 5 feet of flooding across the Louisiana coastline and the storm has forced evacuations and killed many people in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, so it could also do damage in Louisiana as well. Let's just hope that we're able to keep evacuations going, as it may be worse. It's extremely bad for the tropical storm to combine with the virus, but officials will just have to try to keep things going and try to avoid infections, as they're already one of the worst states possible. The third thing that I'd like to talk about is that as protests over police brutality is happening across the country, I think this is an extraordinary moment of pain, especially for Black Americans who are bearing the brunt of three crises: police violence, crushing employment, and the deadliest infectious disease threat in a century. Public health. So these are interrelated crises in that the precise toll on that the coronavirus has taken on people of color remains unknown, but it is obvious that Black Americans are hit harder than the virus. They're more likely to die, more likely to develop severe infections. In addition, devastating job losses seen in the U.S. are hitting Black workers and their families especially hard, according to a report by the Economic Policy Institute, which showed that the unemployment rate for Black Americans is 16.8% compared to 12.4% for white Americans. And while the economy is showing hints of recovery, African Americans are being left out as the Black employment rate rose slightly in May, despite a decline for workers. The mass incarceration of Black people has only worsened the pandemic's heavy toll on minorities, and Black Americans are incarcerated in state prisons at 5 times the rate of whites, and prisons are the other sources of coronavirus infections. So I think to help with this, public health experts, activists, and lawmakers to the triple threat, it may require a coordinated response and to try to solve this problem. That's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.